As rumors are mentioned that people often connect to their ancestors and family members, it is most certain that people are constantly in connection and want and need, even within the tiers, that people do long and miss their family members. So, my mother and I found our way to get a condo in Asia before the vampire awakening of myself. And this location was a matrix location. And my mother seemingly seems as she has been awakened for approximately 20 to 30 years, and she is not leaving anywhere as her wants and needs are extremely strong to the point of almost blood type AB without a negative or positive, as in terms of hurting family members and or gathering family members. So what I wanted to say was, during the Matrix condo purchase, it is almost like a door or a space or an actual property and or opening to someone that is in terms of passing. So my name was on it, my mom's name was on it, and we were on a motorcycle. She was riding the motorcycle and I was the passenger. And we had seen what seemed like a guy looking similar to me, possible cousin, as he stared at me with these extreme eye candy powers. And it wasn't, I would call it eye candy because it is a power that can pull and capture and almost similar to hurting and also want, need, and love and everything else. And it was really strong in that atmospheric of location. As I come to find myself, I had the same exact power, and I did do it back to him. But how do people have the same exact powers? Obviously, it must be a relative, ancestor, or family member. So if you find yourself in an atmosphere where you are extremely tired or unwell, then obviously it's not your atmosphere. So maybe someone is killing a bunch of people in some sort of atmosphere that they shouldn't be in, for example. So if you find yourself more strong, more better looking, or whatever else, then it might just be your atmosphere that you are actually better enhanced and better in. So to say that people look fake, yeah, it's true, because it's probably some sort of immortal Barbie plastic world ground where I do find myself okay there, and I do see that Chad Burgess is okay in that atmosphere on that part as well. And I do think Geofferey Cudd is okay in that atmosphere as well, as in terms of G.I. Joe, Ken, and Barbie, or whatever else, or anime, cartoon, whatever else. But when referring to real and what looks real, it must be another atmosphere that makes people look real. So I'm not saying everybody can go to every atmosphere, because some atmosphere that I am placed in, which is the majority of my life, which is causing me fatigueness, tiredness, and all sorts of experiences that I'm uncomfortable with. So when living somewhere and or purchasing a property and or going somewhere, it obviously matters, because one, how do you know you're on which planet? Two, how do you know where you actually are? For example, in 1991, I want to say I was on the moon, and I did see white alien entities. So who else would be living like white alien entities around with a boy with blue eyes and blonde hair if it wasn't the moon? So it must have been the moon. And so the rest of the places I was sent to was beyond fatigue, beyond tired, beyond emotional abuse and things like that. So I feel like someone had taken me out from my proper living conditions to perhaps watch me suffer for approximately 30 something years. And if I'm not saying this is only me, because I'm saying this is the majority of people. So it's like people are placed at places where they shouldn't be. So if you find yourself better health or better whatever in wherever you live or wherever you stay, then maybe that's for you. But I'm having an issue where I can't possibly find a place where I am healthy at. So that's why I have to resort to medication and whatever else. And when it comes to meals and food, I'm not able to access the proper meals and food that I actually do need. So what I'm trying to say is, by telling that alien mom that I was a vamp in jokes and in niceness and in kidding and whatever else, just to pretend around, actually led me to be with a king vamp. So I'm not saying that, like, my parents don't love me. I think they do, but I'm thinking that they believe whatever I fucking say as for jokes. And it's strange to me because the odd part is I find that perhaps it's a too much love situation, and it's beyond to the point where it's like she is beyond wanting and allowing me to be a vamp, and including Balthazar's real mother, including her. So this is not the arranged wedding that supposedly Brian and other people had me sit down and watch on television. It's not that way. But I'm just saying that perhaps in a dream somewhere, I'm supposed to meet all my individual brothers and sisters and whatever else. But someone was so pissed and jealous to beyond point of pulling me out of my dream life and putting me here to a life where I am suffering. For example, atmosphere, for example, living conditions, for example, everything else. So, I mean, is this actually something else? Because when I look at it, I remember all these people, but where is my actual memory? Is it that I'm sleeping and I can't see like a blanket over my eyes? Or what is it? Because obviously the family members have all these connections, have all these memories, have all these thoughts, have all this love, but where is the actual dream and life? It's almost like someone had backwards me and placed me in some sort of zone where it's a no to this area and it's a yes to that area, but cover my eyes in the yes area and awake me in the no area. The continuation of the confession is that it was an old guy, similarly to mixed alien, mixed white alien, mixed green-eyed, blonde hair, old guy, symbolically John's grandfather or John's father. So that seemed to be the issue that was from past life that he knew while I was asleep, where he yanked me out of the zone of the dark side and my family members' life contacts. So, and to top that off, my father had mentioned around year 2017 that Jane and John has been dating forever, as in a relationship. So, when it came to soul awakening and discovery of my soul named Jane, that was when it led me to ask for John. Knowing it wasn't the proper question to ask, because the proper question is the divine partner. So, to commit a crime once again in following path lives and reoccurring some sort of mistake, obviously it would reoccur some sort of death and murder and also stabbings, and including backstabbings. And if you know what that means in English and American English, it means someone hurting you from behind without you knowing who or what. So obviously it is symbolically speaking that someone wanted me to repeat that pattern with John. As to, was it correct? Obviously not. As to, is it correct? Obviously not. But someone and many people found that Jane and John used to be in a relationship. So it's almost like someone knew the entire time that Jane and John used to be in a relationship, knew who John was, knew who Jane was, but the majority of people and the rest of the people did not. So when it came time to setting people up, people are going to go by the old books, by history, by things like that they came across and claim that these are the rightful partners. When obviously Jane and John are different elements, and many bad incidents happen in history, as we had mentioned in the prior videos, that obviously led to a horrific death and a bad life cycle that obviously indicates that Jane and John are not partners. So when it came time to ask for a question from the universe, obviously the step-on, the kick-ons, the abuse, the attacks, is forced and enforced to commit a mistake and or a crime. So the question is, why the fuck would you do that? So obviously, for a person to ask the universe a question to be granted another person, it's not going to be some random fucking person. Obviously it's going to be, or the past husband. Obviously it's going to be the divine partner. I mean, and to top that off, it's a bigger joke when I ask for my soulmate, because my soulmate so happens to be soul element that's my mate. So I don't know what context or what terms I'm supposed to actually ask. So it almost seems like the person created for me as a husband. That should be like the statement that everyone uses. Because if someone says soul flame, maybe they'll get Damon, like flame guy or whatever. And if someone says like soulmate, maybe they'll be Balthazar's next wife. If someone says like divine partner, maybe they'll get Adam and Eve and like a human life. So when referring to the question that people should ask, obviously it should be the person created for me. Because as parents, as everyone else, they're going to grant whatever the hell you want. And thinking that that's what you really want. So since 1988, I asked for my soulmate. And I ended up with soul element mate. So this is when it seems almost like I'm granted this and I have to get it. And I have to take it and I have to go home with it. But I'm getting threats from elsewhere, as in terms of religious belief and correction and everything else. So it obviously shows that it's pretty much a dead end that might lead to death. So who is dead element and who is death element? Because I find myself always reaching this area on a daily basis, and including nightly. So why is it this answer for me? Obviously, it must be something.